Hello everyone, my name is Tom. Yo, crowd, calm down. Calm down. Calm down. Hello everyone. My name is Tom, and welcome to the Late Night Sugma program. You might know me from the round table. You might know me as the Sugma male. You might know me as that bald guy from wherever. Also, thank you, Hendog HD, for the follow, and hello. I got a dog behind me. This dog right here. Hold on, let me see. Multicam. Can't even see him. This dog right here. He was just like, you know, I'm gonna be in here. I'm gonna be in here, and now he's laying down. And he's like, I'm just gonna be in here while you doing that. I was like, dog, I got a show to do. And he was like, no. I'm gonna be in here. Hello everyone, my name is Sam. In case you didn't hear it the first time, dual camera doggo action, hell yeah. This is not pointing the right direction. I was like, this is turned all the way around from where I'm speaking. Okay, the high quality production you can expect from the Late Night Sugma program, everybody. Okay, is this good? No problem. Okay. So, I went outside today. And I kind of regretted it. Because I realized that everyone has forgotten how to drive. Which is no fun. It's no fun because when everyone forgets how to drive, it gets annoying to drive. People didn't know how to get out the way. People were where I mean, here's the thing. I'm one of those people where it's like, if you meet me in person, you see me in person, you see me in real life, I will be very nice to you. I will be a very kind and empathetic person and very understanding of like whatever. But when I'm driving, not so much. I'm one of those people where it's like I become like a eco-fascist when I start driving. I start being like, you know what? Maybe just humanity was a mistake. Which is also why I've like come to believe that we should all live in walkable communities. And you know what? Looking at my face on the screen right now, I think I would rather have this light on the warmer setting, because the cooler light source just kind of looks weird, I feel like. Alright. But yeah, I went outside because I want to, you know, MomoCon is coming up, and that's going to be like my first public appearance since the pandemic. I mean, technically, like, YomaCon was back in November or whatever here in Detroit, but I'm gonna be real, YomaCon isn't really a convention, it's more so just a gathering. Like, it's just the place where all the nerdy, like, weeaboo people in Detroit and the general vicinity of, like, Metro Detroit, basically in all Southeast Michigan, are just like, you know what? This is our mecca of degeneracy. We're all just gonna go here. We are going to do all the things just for that weekend. We're just going to spend that weekend being weebs and being degenerates. So that's what happened. Or that's what happens every year. Every year around Halloween weekend, all the weebs just go downtown and they just get together into this weird thing. And part of the reason why I'm like insistent like it's not a convention, it's just a gathering, is because like if you don't go with your friends, you just feel weird. Like, that's the thing, is I've gone to MomoCon, or not MomoCon, MomoCon is fine. I've gone to YomaCon. You live in Michigan, have you gone to YomaCon? Then you might know what I'm talking about. Like, when I go to YomaCon and like my friends ditch me, which has happened, it's just not enjoyable to go to. Like, MomoCon is different because it's like, if I go to MomoCon, like, here's the thing. Usually when I'm at why are YomaCon and MomoCon so same in the name? Whenever I go to MomoCon, I'm gonna be honest, most of the people I go with are not always as up as early as I am. Usually I'm like amped up, I'm like, yo, I want to go to the convention. I want to see people. I want to see the people who I know from the internet, who I don't always get to see. I want to do stuff, and I can. Like, I don't need to be in a group of people to actually find stuff to do. And also, I can find people who to interact with either way. Which, I mean, that's also partly because, like, a lot more influencers go to MomoCon, but that's because it's an actual convention and not just a gathering of people, you know what I mean? Like, when it's a gathering of people, it's a little bit different. Okay. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so like I wanted to actually like update my wardrobe a little bit. I went to the store, I couldn't find anything. For one, whenever I go to the jewelry like place, the jewelry counter, they never want to help me. They're always like, this boy's broke. I'm like, fair. Especially when you consider the fact that I was looking at Hawaiian shirts, because I have the one Hawaiian shirt that fits me very well and I like how it looks. So I wanted to get more. I looked at one, $55. $55 for one shirt, bro. That's like $5 at the local thrift shop if they're, you know, struggling. If they're like, yo, we gotta hike the prices up, make it $5. Like, dog, I'm like, $55? Are you kidding me? And it wasn't like a super fancy shirt or anything. It was like your average like Izod shirt. It was like $55? Really? For just a Hawaiian shirt? And it was not high quality. It was like not even like a basic Hawaiian shirt. It was like, dog, I can tell that a child in China made this shirt. The fabric got more sheer too, bro. Exactly. Like, it's not, I'm like, homie, this isn't even like high quality. It would work for what I want, what I want it for. What I want it for. How do I enunciate? It would work, but I was like, bro, I'm not paying $55. Are you crazy? This is not a $55 shirt. Y'all trying to rob me blind in this JCPenney's. And Macy's was also trying to rob me blind. And I went into PacSun and the Zoomies, like the Zillennials and Gen Zers go into. And I just did not like the vibes. I'm gonna be real. They said hello to me, and I was like, excuse me? Y'all speaking to me? I'm kidding. I'm just kidding about that part. But no, I didn't see anything in there. And also, like, a lot of that stuff wasn't... Like, here's the thing, like, I'm also noticing there's, like, a lot of, like, anime stuff in fashion now. Like, they have, like, a lot of anime-based graphic tees, even at the pennies, bro. Anime is becoming very mainstream. I saw one, like, Demon Slayer shirt that just had, like, Nezuko on it, and I'm like, that's kind of cool, but also I don't want people thinking I'm a Nezuko fan. Because, like, people who watch Demon Slayer who specifically really like Nezuko are usually weird. And I would rather not be associated with that. Anyways, let's get into the show. Let's get into the wheel. Let's do a wheel right now. Oh shit, I forgot to mute it. Fuck. It's gonna... Saved. Because it does like a sound effect that's really loud. I forgot to put on the music. Fuck. Alright. Where are we at? What do we get? Number 14. Number 14. What is number 14? Next segment. Alright. Next segment. Next segment. What is the next segment? What are we doing? Let me give y'all the background on what I want to talk about. So, World of Warcraft might be good again. It might. Hi, Tom. Say hi back. Hi. World of Warcraft might be good again in the near future, and I'm very excited about this because I am a degenerate that wants to waste my life in World of Warcraft. That is like my ideal status, is wasting my life with World of Warcraft. As long as I make enough money that I can support myself, I'm cool with that status. So, with Dragonflight, this upcoming expansion that might be coming out probably next year at some point, it seems as though Blizzard actually is trying. The people working on the game from Blizzard are saying a lot of the correct things. They're showing that they're listening to the player base, which has not been a thing for a long time. Maybe this whole lawsuit where they're getting all the sex pests out, maybe it's opening up the avenues for Blizzard to just actually do their job. To, maybe be, you watch or play Yu-Gi-Oh? I don't. I have friends who do, but I don't. But yeah, maybe them getting rid of a lot of the sexual harassers actually like cleared out a lot of maybe it actually drained out the swamp a bit. So maybe now we actually have the people left who care about the game. So that's good. Also like the Microsoft merger, maybe having Bobby Kotick not have as much of his goblin hands all over the product might help things a bit. But I just wanna show you some of the cinematic real quick. I just want to show you some of the cinematic from the upcoming expansion real quick. The world is healing. That's
but her fate.
That's a line. Have I ever watched her on High School Host Club? No, I have not. I probably will at some point though. The world is healing is the phrase that has been repeated by WoW players a lot since this trailer, the cinematic dropped. And the reason is because it comes with quite a bit of irony. It's quite a it's a silly situation. It's a silly thing to say, you know, partly because like it's an implication of like the world is healing, the game might be good again. We're actually listening to you guys. We're going to start a new era in this game to actually make it good. But also there's a little thing literally with the world is healing in regards to World of Warcraft. There's a giant sword in the world. Like, there's literally, you go to Silphus, and there's a giant sword in the ground. Sargeras literally stabbed Azeroth. So it's like the world is healing. What about the sword? Which is why, like, that's been like a repeated line from the trailers. Everyone's like, oh yeah, the world is healing. So, what y'all gonna do about this then? That gives me MTG vibes. I don't know what MTG you're referring to, but that's like everyone has kind of been like, yo, like, what do you mean the world is healing when there's currently a giant sword in the world? And Asmongold, who is, you know, often treated as, is this it? No, it's just, why is my profile even, why do I have my profile up on here? Asmongold, who is a, Magic the Gathering? Yeah, I mean, basically, World of Warcraft basically pulls from, like, D&D, Magic the Gathering, basically all fantasy stuff. That's the idea behind it being an MMO, is it's basically just the fantasy MMO. It's just taking from everything. Like, it literally, it steals lore from, like, you know, Lord of the Rings and shit like that. Like, just pretty much one for one. Anyways, Asmongold, who is a controversial streamer in some regards, but I personally like him. I think that he is pretty cool, and I think he has, you know, some questionable takes here and there, but I think overall he's a good dude. And he's also responsible for me starting to Twitch stream. Like, along that domino effect, when I started playing WoW again, I started watching Asmongold. I started watching Asmongold, so I started watching more stuff on Twitch. And the more I watched on Twitch, the more I was inspired to actually start streaming on Twitch. But he got the chance to interview one of the lead game devs, and this is what happened.
And so at the end of Legion, so like there's a cinematic, and Sargeras, as you know, stabbed the earth with a sword, and it's been there for quite a while, and I'm not really sure like where are things going with that.
Wait, what sword?
Okay, all right.
So I just wanted to share that with all of you. Apparently we're just gonna pretend the sword isn't there. I mean, that is something that Asmongold has literally proposed, is he's like, honestly, like, the ideal situation is just like next expansion, they just get rid of the sword, and when everyone asks, they're just like, what sword? Like, the sword was never there. They just like completely just gaslight the entire player base and pretend like it never happened. So it seems like they might actually go that route, which would be funny if they did. I just saw Kevin's tweet. Bro, I gotta pull this up real quick. That's funny. Alright, y'all better get in here. All of y'all who are already in here, y'all better get in here. Okay, so, let's see, what else we got? Oh yeah, Malcolm Bivens. We gotta talk about wrestling real quick. I'm sorry, y'all. I know that people always want to click off when I talk about wrestling, but you know what? I'm sorry. I spend a lot of time watching and thinking about wrestling, as do, honestly, most people in the sphere of, like, critic YouTube. Like, video essayists and all that. Even animation YouTube. I know there are so many animation video essayists who are also huge wrestling fans. Literally, like, people draw comparisons to wrestling. Like, listen, I'm gonna just point out, I was kind of the OG for that. I feel like I was one of the first people. I mean, I'm not the first of all time. Like, there are certainly plenty of animation YouTube videos that referenced wrestling before me, I'm sure. But I feel like I was, like, the first person who was, like, consistently, like, I had to reel it back. I don't keep up with wrestling, but I know a lot of people who are into it. I enjoy listening to you talk about it. Good. I wish that more people were. I mean, to be honest, I did make a whole Shira video where the premise was me comparing, like, Katra and Adora and their, like, feud against each other to Charlotte and Becky Lynch. I think that did pretty well, if I remember correctly, so. But I think people were just gonna watch Shira videos back then regardless. Anyways, Malcolm Bivens got let go from WWE, and this is a slightly rare case where it's not even the facts that, I mean, it's not completely rare because it's been happening. There have been plenty of people who have requested their release, especially since the inception of AEW, which is the competition to WWE, but they let go Malcolm Bivens. And Malcolm Bivens has not been able to break free from their developmental NXT promotion, which is insane, which is why I said what I said here, which was Malcolm is going to be a star no matter where he goes, because he is the most charismatic person I've ever seen in wrestling or anything. And the fact that WWE wasn't taking full advantage of that when they had the chance to was a huge mistake. And the fact that he was able to resign, they were asking him to resign and, you know, sign a new contract, and he was like, nah, that's just their L. You know, because, like, listen, Malcolm Bivens is just a very entertaining individual, as y'all can see here. I swear I'm not being horny on Maine. I swear.
What you think you were gonna see, huh? What you think you're gonna see? Well, guess what you're gonna see? You're gonna see Scooby-Doo WrestleMania Mystery with Malcolm Bivens. Come on, we're gonna watch it together. Come on. Come on.
Is that movie actually good? I've never seen that movie. I feel like I should make... Honestly, y'all. Honestly, we should make that like a goal of some kind. I do a video reviewing the Scooby-Doo WrestleMania movie. I think that should be a goal. I think we should do that. 1000%. I think that is a thing that we should do. Oh, that's for later. That's not yet. Yeah, I just leaked the W of the week. But before we go into the actual W of the week later, I'm not gonna touch it now. I don't even know a Scooby-Doo one. I know there's a Flintstones WWE special. I don't think it's Flintstones. I think it's Jetsons. Which either way, that's still the weird Hanna-Barbera WWE crossover universe. Honestly, I should just do a whole video on that. I don't know if people would actually watch it. Or maybe people have actually... Hold on, have people done... Okay, first, before we do that... since I already had... Oh, shit. Since I already had the W of the week picked out, and it's honestly, like, pretty, like, big. Like, it's a pretty large-scale one. I did not get the chance to, It unfortunately edged out another W, which is pretty good, but I do want to shout out VG Marcus real quick. I do want to shout out VG Marcus, who hit 100K. Hit 100,000 subscribers. Honestly, long overdue. I've known Marcus for years. He is a great dude, a funny dude. Has been making quality videos for a hot minute now. And I'm extremely proud to see he is hitting these milestones. I'm very proud of him. Wow, I'm having trouble speaking today. Honestly, it's because I went outside. That's a problem. I should just stay inside. Shouldn't go outside. That's the real issue. That's the real thing. Jane Jetson versus Ruby Soho, though, is that actually a thing? Did they actually do that? Because she was in WWE at that time. That would be hilarious. LMAO, no. They should have done it. They should have done it. Also, there's like been this weird thing over the last week in the wrestling sphere of things where there's been like this discourse around women's wrestling where incels are being very upset. I mean, not just incels. There's just been like a whole discourse around women's wrestling this past week, and it's made me realize that most guys, when it comes to women's wrestling, only care about it if it means they can beat off to women wrestlers. And if you imply, if you like call them out on it, or if you imply that wrestling for women should be anything but that, anything that doesn't cater to their male gaze, they freak the fuck out. So like, I don't know what to do about that. I don't know how we approach that other than just like supporting good women's wrestling, but there really isn't that much out there. And not even so much that like the women's wrestling that's out there, like the women wrestlers themselves are bad, but it's like, you know, Michelle McCool and Melina and Mickie James and all them, Maurice, Eve, all that whole generation was great, but you wouldn't know it by the matches they were having on WWE. There was even a point where Melina and Michelle McCool got chewed out backstage because they had a good match. And they were like, what? You're not supposed to be having good matches because you're the women, you know? So it's really, it comes down to how the women themselves are utilized. And like AEW especially, I love AEW. I talk about AEW a lot. One thing we need to acknowledge is their women's division is objectively garbage. It's not, Tock, why are you right there? Right under my foot. The women's division AEW is objectively garbage, and it's so weird how Tony Khan like refuses to do that. But also, real quick, oh, there's a Saber Spark video on it. Is Saber Spark a wrestling fan? I actually do not know. I don't think I've ever talked to him about wrestling. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of Warner Brothers clips. You know what? I might actually... I'll watch the Saber Spark video later. But I might actually make a video looking into that. Looking into, like, that weird universe of, like, Hanna-Barbera cartoons. But yeah, like, hold on. Like, there's not... Like, That's just like a compilation. That's Saber Spark. That's so weird. Wait, hold on. You know what's funny about that? Hold on. WrestleMania 25. WrestleMania 25. Bro, I have so many wrestling DVDs over here. I'd be down even if tier list on the WWE stuff would be interesting coming from you. Like, wait, WWE cartoons or I don't know. I do want to do more wrestling videos. That's something that I want to do on the break between season 2 of late night Sugma program and season 3 is I do want to work on actually making wrestling videos. I also kind of want to do a series on Sugma Mail, just kind of like doing video essays on people who have shaped my identity. Is that the word? Like persona? Like, I guess just people who have been like role models to me over time. Like, both in the sense of like content creators, also like wrestlers, musicians. Like, I kind of want to do one on Kanye, but doing one on Kanye is gonna be kind of tricky because like I don't know if y'all know this, but I'm not black, so like a lot of stuff regarding Kanye has a lot to do with black culture and stuff, and I feel like I'm not quite, I can talk about my experience, I guess, which that doesn't require me to be black, but I feel like a lot of like the more nitty gritty things about Kanye West are deeply ingrained in blackness, which I do not have the authority to talk about. FD Signifier did a pretty good video on Kanye too, which I don't think I can live up to that, but I mean, what are you doing, dog? What are you doing? You want me to let you out? I gotta let the dog out. Out of my room, at least. Alright, hold on one second. CM Punk is one that I want to do a video on. Because, like, listen. Part of it... Alright, so for that, for CM Punk, number one reason I want to is because CM Punk returned to wrestling after 8 years. And there are definitely a lot of people who have gotten into wrestling in that time period who do not understand the impact of CM Punk. Because now CM Punk is back and they just see some skinny white dude who's like, yo, what's up, y'all? I'm here to, like, take back the throne. And everyone's like, who is this guy? They just see some, like, middle-aged white dude with tattoos who, like, doesn't look incredibly, like, imposing or anything. He's just coming out and, like, smiling and... Alright, hold on. Y'all are gonna... I think you can still empathize and relate to creators who are different than you, but I also completely understand the hesitancy in wanting to address it properly. Yeah, I mean, like, part of it is just, like, I've learned... Here's the thing, there's something that a lot of people have not learned in the modern day of social justice, as you see with a lot of younger folks. And I've learned not to, I've learned to stay in my lane. Like, if there's a black issue, let black people talk about that. It's not necessarily my place to talk about it, unless I have something, like, actually objective to add to, which chances are I don't. But, you know, like, there are some things about Kanye West where I'm like, I don't think... I don't know. It's like, I personally don't really support Kanye West anymore just because, like, a lot of his music doesn't really hit the same. A lot of his aesthetic and his attitude doesn't resonate with me anymore. But it's like, I don't know. I don't think that has anything to do with me, with my identity, to be honest. I think that might be somewhat universal, but it's also like, yeah, because I there was a point where I was like, I was thinking of doing like a rise and fall of Kanye West video, but then I saw FD Signifier's video. I'm like, you know, I don't know if I have the perspective to really like do that topic justice, but I think if I just go straight on like how I was influenced by Kanye, how he affected my life, how he affected my trajectory, how I, you know, present myself, my creative process, all that stuff, I think I can do that. I think that's like something that is within my lane. Oh yeah, one more thing I want to talk about before we bring our guests on, because I'm gonna be honest, I feel like I've not done the best job this season when it comes to actually like filling up the hour prior to bringing the guests on. And that's something I think comes from the fact that I didn't prepare enough. Because, like, season 1, something I want to bring back for season 3. And this isn't something where I'm gonna like be down on myself and be like, man, I'm totally dropping the ball here and like, you know, like negative self-talk or anything. Because like, listen, bro, ultimately, especially with live content, I think that everything is ultimately trial and error. And I'm noticing maybe I should have like planned out specific like episode themes and topics prior to the season starting. And I definitely went in kind of relying on the fact that we would have guests every week. And now I'm starting to feel like that's not enough. And I'll be honest, that has slightly affected my attitude around doing the show a little bit. Just a little bit. It's kind of shaken my confidence a little bit. As far as like, you know, I don't feel like the show is as good as it was. Because season 1, I felt like I did a good job of like every episode felt like it was like a new thing. Like every episode had like its own, not even like its own, like the tone was consistent, but it felt like every episode had its own theme. And I feel like this time around, I didn't put enough effort into maintaining that. And that is definitely a weakness in this season that was a strength in the first season. And I think in the third season, I definitely want to bring that strength back because it's something I do have control over. And I mean, I feel like it might be a little bit too late at this point in the season because like I'm kind of caught up with everything else. But I mean, for now, the best I can do really is just coming up with enough topics to lead us into the guests. And I've been watching One Piece. And I'm at the point in One Piece, I'm about a quarter of the way through the show. I started watching the beginning of April, and we're at the end of April. I'm about a quarter of the way through. I think that's pretty good. I think I'm moving at a pretty good pace. And I've also been, you know, getting videos done and everything. So that's good. Like, a new video on the roundtable should be next week. Should have a new video next week, so that's good. My fiance is trying to catch me up too. Oh, trying to catch up to. I completely read that wrong. I should probably make this window bigger so I can actually read. Hold on. There we go, that's much better. But yeah, I'm at the point where like I'm getting big ACAB vibes. And I appreciate it, you know? But I am kind of wondering, like, yo, are there people who watch One Piece? Like, no spoilers. But are there people who watch One Piece and they're like, you know what? The Marines are right. Some bootlicking anime fans who are like, yeah, no, they're pirates. You know, they're criminals. They don't deserve rights, you know? Like, the no spoiler context is basically like, okay, we all know, whether you've watched it or not, you know One Piece is about pirates. And obviously, in the real world and in most stories, pirates are bad guys. Pirates are not good people. They're out pillaging, they're out doing crime. And who are the enemies of pirates? Usually the state, usually the government, usually the executive branch of things in the sense of like law enforcement. And that's true in One Piece. But the based thing about One Piece is they're showing that the pirates, at least the ones that you were following in the story, are not bad people. A lot of them are products of their environment, and the authority is corrupt and evil, and it's like, whoa, wait a minute. This is actually a pretty good reflection of real life, you know? Usually criminals in real life are products of their environments. They're just doing what they need to do to get by. And the cops, the governments, the people enforcing laws are usually doing so in an unjust way. They're usually abusing their power, and that's what you see in One Piece. And that's the best way I can describe it without going into spoilers. So I am kind of wondering, like, there has to be, even with the way that they frame everything, even with the way that they, like, specifically show you that that's the case, and specifically, like, make you want to cheer for the pirates and like make the pirates the protagonists. There are definitely going to be people who are like, yeah, nah, Luffy and all of them deserve to be treated like garbage by the by the Marines, by the world governments. Like, there's gotta be those people. But I'm also terrified to actually look it up, because I know that if I even go on like any platform and look up anything One Piece related, I'm getting spoiled for sure. And I do not want to do that. Also, I might see, I can say I'll make a video about anything, but I do kind of sort of want to make a video once I'm done, even if it's just on Sugma Mail. I just want to make a video where I'm like, yeah, so I finished One Piece. What is going on with my voice, bro? I'm gonna be honest, I was so tired going into this. I did not have the energy to do the show, but I'm just going all. I'm trying to pump as much caffeine into my body as possible. Honestly, I should have gone up to the corner and gotten like the canned espresso. It's like 3 cups of coffee worth of caffeine. But yeah, my brain is kind of. I imagine right-wing One Piece fans using the Straw Hat logo like the Punisher skull. See, here's the thing is, I want to be like, no, that would be missing the point, but that's exactly what they do. They would be like, yeah, Luffy is a good guy, but also I headcanon Luffy as a conservative. It's the same way that like Ben Shapiro and like Tim Pool made whole videos about how Squid Game is not actually about the evils of capitalism, but it's actually the evils of communism that they're talking about, even though like that's clearly not what it's about. They're gonna be like, you know, the Straw Hats are all about anti-masking and anti-vaxxing. They're going. That's a weird thing though. Like, conservatives have gone like anti-government in a way that's like not how they think, you know? Because it's like, that's a weird thing. It's like people on the right and the left are both like anti-government in a way that's like, you know, like on one hand you got people on the right who are anti-government because they're just anti-democrat, but they're like pro-cop, pro-military, pro all that shit, pro-war. And then you got liberals who are pro-war. But also you got leftists who are like anti-government because they're pro-war, because of the government, because of all that shit. The sheer mental gymnastics on that Squid Game analysis, that's backwards long jumping at that point, yeah. I mean, to be honest, I could see like anarchists, like anarcho-capitalist, whatever the terminology is. I could see them being like, yo, dude, I really love One Piece because, like, it's showing that, you know, government is bad. And I could definitely see some people doing mental gymnastics to be like, yeah, One Piece is what happens if you have communism or socialism or whatever. So I can see that, I guess. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But also, it's, like, clearly anti-cop at the end of the day. That's, like, the number one thing to take away from One Piece is anti-cop. Because the Marines are like, what are you going to compare to the Marines in real life aside from like, okay, the military is cops. Like, what's the difference between, especially in America, we fund the cops like we fund the military. So yeah, what's the difference? Anyways, I think, all right, we're at 10:43. I think it's about time that we can bring on our guest. Ready when you are. I think it's about time that we can bring on ArteiceTB. I think that's how you say her name, her screen name. Arteice and then TB. I don't know what the TB stands for. To be honest, okay, before we bring her on, I just want to acknowledge that Arteice is the one person when I was putting out like the application forms who actually took initiative and submitted one. Like, I did not follow her or anything, and she took the initiative to actually like put herself out there. And I want to give her a round of applause for that. Honestly, cops get better funding. I mean, okay, realistically though, a lot of the police departments in America are literally more funded than like actual armies of other nations. Like, I think the NYPD is like the 5th largest army in the world. Like, realistically, that's not incorrect. You know what I mean? Like, you are not incorrect in that. We're just gonna wait on her to respond. Arteice has been doing great with her channel lately. Happy to call her a friend. I mean, I looked at some of her stuff and it looks pretty cool. It seems like I'm actually interested in, as a New Yorker, I'm not surprised to hear that. I mean, yeah, bro, whenever I've gone to New York, it's like, dude, there's police everywhere. Even if I wanted to do a crime, how would I do a crime? But yeah, Arteice, I'm interested in talking to more people from the newer wave of animation YouTubers. Yeah, she might not be ready though, so I'm cool to keep talking about One Piece and stuff. I told her close to 11, and it's not quite there yet. Usually 10:45 is usually what I mean when I say close to 11. Which for everybody, that's gonna mean different things if I say that. But yeah, dog, New York is crazy with their police. And it's so crazy how, like, they're crazy with their police and then that shit with the subways still happened. Like, how are y'all gonna pour billions into your police force? And yet that still happens. Like, it's crazy, especially, like, I don't know. I don't live in the city. I can only say so much as someone who's visited once or twice here and there. I mean, not even once or twice. I've been there, what, like 5 times now? How many times have I been to New York? 2017, 2018, 2019, and then 4 times. I've been to New York 4 times. And I've only taken the subway the 1 time, and that radicalized me towards being all about walkable cities and like public transport and shit. Because holy shit, like, that's crazy. She's very inspiring as a content creator. That's cool. I can see why I call themselves New York's finest, which is to spend money a lot. Yep, for sure. All right, she's ready. Come on. Hello. Hey, what's up?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I should have done more research, I'm gonna be honest, before I watched some of your videos. And also I have the application that you sent in talking about some of the stuff that you want to talk about. Also, I want to acknowledge the fact that like you were like one of the only people who actually put themselves out there and reached out to be on the show, and I greatly appreciate that.
Oh, definitely. Thanks. I appreciate it. I just saw an opportunity and I went for it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I do feel like some people, I mean, I can understand it, because I think for some people it was either like, yo, I'm gonna wait until he asks me, or they thought like, oh, like maybe he won't actually want me to come on. But it's like, I want anybody to come on, big or small.
Yes. I'm all for that.
So I think the best place to start is how long have you been making videos?
Remember when we were all cooped up in our homes? So like I made my channel. Its date is like tracks back, so it's like April, near the end of April 2020. But I've actually like kind of started making videos when I was like on TikTok. It was a dark time for me there. Making like anime-esque content and talking about like, oh, these anime characters are very similar, and like y'all overblowing stuff. And also just making content about like autism, or I don't know, just trying to gain my footing. But by the time I shifted from TikTok to YouTube, I was like, I want to talk about an episode from the Owl House that was really good. It's the only one that's worth starting with. And from there, I just try to learn how to like edit my own audio and like footage and stuff from there, and every time like I open my editing software, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just learned something so new. This is so cool. So it's like I don't get bored with it. I get like excited to just work on something new. Like I just put out like a fat video, like an hour and a half, basically a movie about autism spectrum disorder, and had a lot of, and there's more people in the video too. Like my audio makes up about 30 minutes. They talk about for the rest of the remainder of time. I don't even talk as long as they do. And you think after that, oh man, I should like sit down for a while. But I was like, yeah, I'm ready for another one. Let's go again.
That's crazy though. Like I didn't realize that like you've only been doing it for a few years. I mean, I guess 2020 was actually a few years ago, which it feels
crazy to think about.
It feels more recent than it does. Sometimes I remember the fact that I've been doing this for like 6 years and I'm like, nah, that's not real.
I feel like when I've decided of like, okay, now I know what I want to do. Now I know like what I want to talk about and the ideas I have. So about a year and a half ish, I would say.
Okay. How was that transition from TikTok to YouTube? Because I've had a few people come on, especially like just talking to other creators. It seems like it's very hard to get audiences from TikTok to transfer over to YouTube and Twitch and other platforms.
Oh, it is. It definitely is. But at the time when I was on TikTok and I was getting gratification from just seeing those numbers climb, and just like my only way of interacting with people was just through the comments in those videos. And when it was like lulling every now and again, I just decided to like, well, first off, I think I'm pretty sure I formed an addiction to it. So I had to wean myself off of the app and move more towards longer form content, because like I have more to say, and I know I have more than to say, and a lot of people tell me I have a lot to say, more than just a minute platform will allow and can allow, because like I have much more nuanced thoughts and complexities that I want to deep dive into. I want to have conversations. That's like my whole thing too, is like I want discussion, not discourse. So what I did was just weaning off of TikTok and learning how to like do some of my earlier, actually a lot of my earlier videos were me making do with what I had. I had an iPad, I had a free editing app, I have an Apple Pencil, I can screen record, I can like draw my own stills. I ain't got no face camera set up. It's like, this is easier setup either way because I don't have to worry about lighting, blah, blah, blah. So I just worked with what I had. And to me, that was very self-gratification. It was very gratifying to do that. And in time, the audience, I did try to like post clips and out of context stuff from my videos on YouTube to TikTok to like let people know I'm there too now. But like I just keep it all in my link tree on the profile, and just I don't even post there as often anymore, or just talk about like my channels there. Kind of letting it die off, or just like I don't even open it anymore. It's just a hellscape. I don't even know what's worse, TikTok or Twitter.
So you started making videos on an iPad?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I had to work with what I got.
I didn't even know you could like post to YouTube from an iPad.
I think what I did, I would take the footage and export it and use a little bit of iMovies off the iPad to like edit. This is crazy. Oh my gosh, this is so nostalgic for me. What I do, I'd throw myself into my closet and took my gaming headphones, and they're just like generic PS4 gaming headsets, and would use the camera function of the iPad to record my audio. So it would just be a blank screen, but it can pick up my audio. So that's what I would use. And then I would just go into iMovies, take the footage out, and just edit the audio from there, and put all that in like PowerPoint or Power Director. And then when I figured out that, I can actually download this on like a kind of crappy old computer, so I whipped out my old laptop and just try to like work out from there. and I was like, oh, this is so cool. This is like better than an iPad, because like when I was working on the iPad, I only had 3 layers of footage and 3 layers of audio to work with. At the time, like that's enough for me. I could only put a background, my still, and anything else on top of that else.
Mm-hmm.
So I just interchanged it with that. I worked with what I had, so just used the second 2 layers. I don't even think I used background music that much because I just was just figuring out how to like use my own audio.
Right. I mean, even now, behind the scenes for all the roundtable fans, I still use iMovie for like the initial, like first draft of all my videos, and then I take that and then move it over to Premiere.
Oh, that's so cool.
Just because I find it much easier to like edit down like raw footage and raw audio in iMovie.
Mm-hmm.
I had something I was gonna say, but then I forgot it.
I essentially was working everything off of my iPad. I would have my drawing app I would use and still prefer to use like IBS Paint, IBS Paint X. I would use that to draw. I would use that to like capture. Whenever I download images or took a screenshot, I would put it in the aspect ratio for the video and just like download it as a transparent PNG. And I still do this now that I have an actual like laptop. I decided like at some point I decided that I know I have a voice and I know I want to have discussions. I feel like I feel like the video that really popped off for in my mind, in my head, that like I want to try start doing more of this as much as I can or as much as possible was when I made pan rep deserves better that video, because I was like, man, I sure love pansexuality. I sure do love my pans out there.
Yep.
But why the frick are all the pans in media psychopathic, narcissistic, just so unlikable, which is so ironic because pans love any and every, like, regardless of gender. That makes no sense to me. But they're also the most complex characters, and like the ones I use for examples was like Deadpool, Rose Quartz, Rick Sanchez, where it's like, y'all kind of suck, but you're so deep and complex, and it's like a freaking catch-22.
Yeah. I mean, LGBT rap in general is like a very mixed bag, where it's always like, it's so weird because it's always some trope that every identity ends up being put in, where it's like, it doesn't even always make sense like where that came from.
Right, exactly. It's so weird to me.
Yeah, like for example, like the bury your gays trope, I kind of understand where it came from, where it's like, I guess you could like draw it back to like the AIDS pandemic and say like, you know, if you're gay, you're gonna die of AIDS or whatever. Like that could be where it comes from, but like that even feels like a stretch. So I'm like, why did that become like such a trope and such a common thing to do to gay characters? Like,
That's so fascinating.
yeah. And also like the non-binary thing, which I didn't watch it, but I saw you have a video on that.
So for that, I love my train of thought. Like, yes, I will criticize and analyze every sexuality and orientation when it comes to the genders. And I have like a trans deserves better rep video idea as well. I have so many ideas, but I'm like, whoa, gender identity. Hey, I'm cis. That's not really it's not really my point of view to talk about. But what I can do is just like, I'm just gonna share some observations. I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm kind of just noticing a weird pattern, very obvious pattern that a lot of the non-binaries are robots, aliens. Very obvious pattern as well with like autistic characters as well.
Right.
And I'm like, non-binary doesn't mean not human. So I'm like, I'm just gonna share my POV and just hand it off and offer the stage to some actual non-binaries who can talk about this, because I did get a wide range from responses. Some like not minding it, some thinking it's cool, some vibing with it, some just being like, nah, this is bull.
I mean,
which is what I wanted. I like that. Like, it's complex. It's not as black and white. It's not everyone in the community of their respective communities think the same because no one's a monolith. Rage, rage, rage.
Right.
Ah.
And I think that's like the most important thing is just like being willing to listen, because like I recently found a video from someone who was making a video response to one of my videos, and like I mentioned like some of the stuff that we brought up so far, and like they were just like, they clearly were not educated on it at all, but they were like choosing to be angry about it because it's like, oh my god, you're like, you have to find an issue with like everything nowadays. And it's like, bro, if you just like stopped and like actually listened to what I'm saying, then maybe you wouldn't be as mad, because it's like, it's not that big of a deal to just like stop and like listen to, because like part of it too is like I'm not even a part of a lot of the groups that I'm talking about. It's just like a lot of times with these tropes, it's like I don't even know what they're tropes until someone brings it up. Like for example, with the non-binary thing, I didn't know it, the not making non-binary characters human was even a thing until Shira, and then I saw people upset about it, and I was like, I looked into it further. I'm like, yeah, that's weird how that's a thing. But like, even as like someone who greatly enjoys Shira, I wasn't like jumping to defend the show, you know? It's like it's so easy to just like listen to people and like actually look into things and figure out like why are people upset and why do people want more.
Just so, because it's all a matter of perspective, and I myself, as like a person on the autism spectrum, I have a different perspective than most. I have a very, I don't, what would people consider the normal or like standard reactionary train of thought is something I don't have or can comprehend and will never really understand and comprehend, because it's like, I don't think that way. I'm not sure of how to think that way, and it really can clash with my other identities. But that's why I find different perspectives interesting, where it's like, I don't necessarily, because I will not necessarily agree with every perspective I hear, because it's just reasonably not to.
Yeah.
I just want to know from other people's POV, like, okay, what is your train of thought and what led you there? And
Right.
it's like, I never really considered it like that. I still disagree, but that's very fascinating how you got there.
Yeah. Because like there are definitely things where it's like, if you don't come from a certain background, if you don't have the experiences to understand something, you're just not going to understand it unless you actually listen to the people who have.
Yes. And even if it's like, I can understand a lot of people's hesitation to like approach certain groups and certain like thought points, especially where everyone wants to make everything seemingly political when it's like, nah, that's just basic human decency and rights and
Yep.
living. Where it's like, I just want to hear what makes them think this way and where is their train of thought coming from. I still think it's wrong. I still don't like it, but maybe find some common ground.
Mm-hmm. And it's also like, there's a Shira video that I made like kind of as a retrospective that's in the works. I think Kevin said he wanted to like edit that, so like that's where it is in production for people watching. But in that video, like I mentioned the fact, like I touched on it real quick. It's like everybody talks about like how Shira is super political, specifically for the LGBT rep, but then it's like also a show that's like explicitly anti-fascist and anti-imperialist, and it's like nobody's saying it's political for those reasons, which are actual like political ideologies, but they're going to talk about how it's political and like make all these outrageous videos about how, oh, it's like forcing people to be gay, when it's like there's actual political ideology right there.
I bet my bottom dollar that if Avatar: The Last Airbender came out in today's climate, people would right off the bat, even if there might not be a lot of LGBT things going on in Avatar, at least not in the show compared to the comics, but they would be frothing about how, oh, what's with this woman and her brown skin and yada yada yada.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like just the fact that the waterbenders aren't white. Or the fact that like mostly Earth Nation isn't white.
Mm-hmm. It's just a complaint of like, to a certain extent I understand if like people are so used to seeing a set character, like I am just so tired of just seeing the overly enthusiastic yeah, let's help everyone kind of main male protagonist
Mhm.
to the point where can I get something different? That's why when The Amazing World of Gumball came out, and Gumball's like he's a cynical little. Sorry, can I? Am I allowed to swear? Sorry.
Yeah, you can swear.
He's just a little cynical little shit, and it's like yes, because this is what kids can be. As much as kids can be like sweethearts, they're also little shits.
Yeah. But then we also have weirdos who are like, they'll criticize characters who are children who act like children.
Lord forbid kids act like kids. Like, I remember watching 12 Forever, and I forget the main character's name, but she is 12, or she recently just turned 12 or 13, and she is kind of the worst. And I'm like, dude, you suck. But then I'm like, ha, that was literally me as a kid. So I'm like, you know what? Accurate.
I mean, 12 Forever was also just like the kind of behind the scenes of it was also pretty dark. I mean, the show itself I enjoyed, but then like finding out all the other stuff was like, oh, that kind of changes the tone of the show.
Right. It's just so disappointing.
Yep. Let's see. You also want to talk about grasping of the fear of success. Can you elaborate on that?
Oh yeah. I remember when the video that really popped off and that got me to the account I'm at now, because before on Valentine's Day, I uploaded the double standards of sexual harassment in animation, because for a long while now I have noticed that there are a lot of examples in fiction in general, but in animation especially, in kids animation too, where girl chases boy. Oh, it's so cute. Oh, it's just funny love. Like, come on, man, don't be a jerk just because she kisses you and hugs you and hurts you kind of while doing it and harassing you without your consent whatsoever. Don't be a jerk. Don't break her heart because you look like the bad guy. Just sit there and take it. Versus if it was the other way around, if the boy was chasing the girl, and there's not even that many examples of that, but it's always played up for, oh, that's creepy. The boy's being creepy. It's like, leave the girls alone, boy. You're being creepy when you do that. Oh, but when the girl does it, oh, that's fine. That's fine. That's funny. That's actually cute. I'm over here like, no. Because as an advocate of true gender equality, I will put hands, man, woman, non-binary, anyone. Like, that is not okay either way, because it just perpetuates the terrible stigma in dating advice, unintentional dating advice kids are getting from such media. I've improving my own point in the comments of that video. Some other people who watch shows like Puka, and I did a video very similar last Valentine's Day, talking about Puka and how, man, I loved this show growing up. It gave me such terrible POV about how romance works. And my only objective with that video was that, yes, another Valentine's Day. I'm a ruin Valentine's Day because this is kind of my thing now. I love doing it. And it's like, I feel like I did a lot of research. And for me, my video making process, the longest part is not the editing, it's like my editing is still pretty basic and bare bones because I'm still like learning as I go.
Yep.
It's not the editing, it's not, surprisingly, it's not even recording the audio or editing the TAM audio. It's the scripting, because I want to make sure what I say is conveyed as thoroughly as possible, and just like, I am just that person who's like, years of writing essays and getting that ish done in school, I will not let that go to waste, and it has literally paid off, actually.
Yeah.
It's my standing point and pride myself on my vernacular and use of words and the thesaurus. I'm like, no shade at all to like people who are not as particular in their writing and their scripts for their videos. It's just, I write how I want to hear it. I write what I want to see. And what I don't like hearing is like, you said film, talking about this film, yada yada, film. Use a thesaurus.
Yeah.
Movie, cinema. Oh my god. Other words.
That's definitely
like
something
vernacular.
That's something I've definitely been guilty of in the past, where people are like, how many times did this guy say show in this video?
I try to avoid that so many times. Just saying like show multiple times, or I try to say television or like this cartoon, yada yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
But I do that, and my only I didn't have really any expectations for it. My only hope was for the outcome of like I hope people learn something from this, or just like see where I'm coming from, and like that I'm not alone in this kind of thought. That like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this ain't really cool at all. Next thing I know, it's like my number one video for a long while. It broke over 100K views in a matter of like less than 2 weeks. It jumped me up from because I was at I was about 850 subs at that time. In about less than 2 weeks' notice, I'm about hitting 7K subs. Now I'm about like 8.5K subs, which I felt like
That's
this
a big
wasn't
jump.
supposed to happen so fast. It was overwhelming, and like it's like this is what, like when people talk about YouTube or like ask advice of like, oh man, how'd you do it? How'd you like knew this was gonna be the one? And I'm like, you don't know. I don't
Yep.
know. I didn't even intend for this. I just wanted to talk my shit like I usually do. And it's like people in the comments and how they like found me, and thankfully like I have a back catalog of other stuff talking my ish as I do, and they like that, and that's what plagues them to stay.
Yep.
And I'm just like, I don't say the whole like, comment, and subscribe, and I understand why people do, and I get that. Get your bread, get your bag. I don't say it just because I don't think it's necessary. Well, I don't think for myself it's necessary because it just seems redundant. Because it's like, if you like it, you'll like it. If you want to subscribe, you'll hit that button. If you want to get a notification, I would recommend notifications because I don't even know when I'm going to post again. I didn't even say that at all anywhere in the video, but somehow a lot of people subscribed, a lot of people liked it, some people didn't like it. We had some discussions, some discourse, more than I intended, but hey, I got people thinking, and that's my objective at the end of the day. I get you thinking out of your comfort zone of thought just for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have high hopes. I try to like keep myself grounded and remember from those TikTok days of not getting obsessive over numbers, because that is what drained my creativity. And with making videos on YouTube, that helps fuels my creativity. It helps me like see things in a much more wider array and make things that I didn't know I could make. And in like years of watching other creatives make their videos and figuring out, oh, that's how they did it in that edit, and I can like, I'm not sure what that kind of thing is called in a software, but I can probably replicate it by doing this and that. It was really cool to me. So I try so hard to just keep myself grounded in a reality of knowing that whatever else I post can flop, might flop, probably could or should flop for my own safety's sake, because I have some very hot takes on a lot of certain things. But if I change one person's mind or like open a new perspective at the end of the day, I'm satisfied. I'm happy with that, and that's what I want.
Yep.
And even with my next video talking about representation, and I did that collaboration with Geek Tunes, it was fine. It ended up fine. And I just pulled that band-aid off of after big old video that brought you your success, and it's like, you just won the National League. What are you gonna do next? I'm going to Denny's.
Yep. Thank you, Rod's Variety, for following, and also, yeah, like, I mean, for me personally, it was like, I definitely have a different story from most people, where it's like, I definitely kind of got carried to a certain point with YouTube, but it was also like, it was definitely kind of hard, where it's like, all right, I'm on this 100,000 subscriber channel, and I'm just now, like, I've just started making videos. And it was literally just because, like, Kevin, through knowing me for years, knew, like, okay, I know you can be entertaining, I know what you've been doing so far, and I believe that you can contribute to this, like, platform that we have right now. And even then, like, even with that privilege and, like, having that boost initially, like, I still don't know what makes a video pop off. I've had videos pop off. I don't know why, like, and, like, some of my most popular videos, like the Rose Quartz roast that a lot of people know me for, I don't even think that's anywhere near my best video. but like that just happened to be the one that like got enough people responding in a way where they wanted to where it just happened to blow up the way it did, you know?
Yeah. I just never know. And I feel like to this day, I like, even though like my double standard video was the one that blew up, I still feel like my best video, because as hard as I worked on the double standard one, I know exactly the timeline of how hard I worked on my Why Black Dynamite is a Hidden Gem retrospective. Because with my channel, I don't really kind of do reviews. I'm still trying to like figure out that aspect of the writing process. I just like watch episodes of like some shows that I enjoy. Like the first one I remember, it started off with like and aside from like analysis, like the close enough, like some of my close enough videos I've done on boundaries, addiction, and failure, when I was like rewatching Close Enough, and how, man, Emily shouldn't let her friend walk all over her. This is some bull. And even kind of shows that even as a kind of young middle-aged adult, having boundaries is good and healthy, and how Bridget getting over her phone addiction, like, damn, she like me for real, when I was on my TikTok addiction, and talking about failure and how like that looks different, and just also just sharing like small aspects of myself in those videos, and just to reassure people that like you're not necessarily a failure just because your life is different now and you change things, your goals are different, and that's good, that's part of life. And what really warms my heart is when people tell me how, man, not me crying right now, or like not me getting a little choked up and teary-eyed, and I'm like, yes, cry, it builds my power.
Right. That's definitely a thing about reviewing media, is like it's an opportunity in a lot of ways to just share pieces of yourself. Like I think part of the reason why talking about Shira for me was like such a consistently successful series of videos for me compared to like other shows is because I was and even with Miraculous, like it's me talking about, most of the videos me talking about my experiences that like allow me to identify with the text. Like I've been in really toxic friendships that allow me to identify a lot with like certain aspects of Shira. When I was a kid, I was a fucking idiot and didn't know how to interact with people who I had a crush on, so I have a certain level of empathy for the characters in Miraculous, and I think that's part of the thing that makes people respond the way that they do and want to continue watching someone talk about shows, is the ability for someone to have a connection. Like even with Tariq, when he talks about the Peanuts, like not many people can make Peanuts videos like Tariq, because Tariq has a ability to make a connection between his own experiences and the shows he talks about. So I definitely think that's definitely something that's like a unacknowledged like utility to people who talk about cartoons and just talk about and review or even like analyze media, because it's not even really reviews at that point. It's just like it's almost it's something that makes people appreciate the media that they're consuming even more. Because like something that Toby Jones, I don't remember who told me this, I think it was Kevin, said that Toby Jones told him this, but it's like this, he said the same part of his brain that enjoys watching cartoons enjoys watching YouTube videos about cartoons.
I love that, because when I was growing up, I was very much I was actively watching the Round Table, and during the ever so infamous Steven Universe hiatuses, I was watching Vox's Crystal Clear theory videos and stuff, because I thought, oh, this is really cool, and like I'm really into this show, and I really want to like see who else is talking about it, who is making content or like giving ideas about it. It's like just building a little community or like aspects and learning that, oh, I didn't even notice that. I love oh my gosh, it's like when I was even younger watching Black Nerd Comedy, and after every episode on the dot of 2012 TMNT, just like an hour or two later, he would upload his Easter eggs video and like breakdown of the episode. I'm like, yay!
I
I was like,
we're getting towards like the last however long of this, so I want to kind of transition into you mentioned that you were on the verge of publishing a short play focusing on the importance of communication regarding disability and specifically autism.
yes, so funny. So, uh, short, short story, kind of long, but when I graduated in about 2019, I sent out a lot of publication plays that I wrote while my time in school. Some of them did not get picked. Actually, a lot of them, all of them did not get either picked up or it was just sat on the back burner. And like it's kind of like it's like when like applying for job applications. It's like some people get back to you and just tell you that like sorry, we're not moving forward with you, or you just hear just radio silence.
Mm-hmm.
And after some years from that, got a little discouraged and was just focusing on also finding work and pandemic and blah 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 blah. 3 years later, I get reached out from a theater in a small community theater in New York, asking like, "Hey, we still have like your play, your short play that was on file from like the contests years back," and they will ask me essentially like, "Could we produce it?" And I'm like, "Sure, what?" I'm like, yeah, that's like, because at that time, like, I was about to head back to work. I was trying to get my life together again.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to get into that young adult swing of things. And they offered like an honorarium, which is like basically paying me my rights to like use, paying to basically like me loaning out like the script and for them to like put on the play with me and like two other playwrights who wrote works for it. And I got to, unfortunately, I couldn't physically go because like it's on the other side of the states for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to at least sat down with the director and like the casts that they had, and they seemed like a cool bunch of folks. And the play itself is called Why I Dance, and it's about how it's based on my time in college when I was in a dancing class. I really liked it, but my only issue was, well, probably everyone else's. I danced way too wild, and
Mm-hmm.
when my partner and like my professor was really cool and was like, "Oh, we can have guys dance with the girls, but hey, let's just go by height, or y'all can dance with whomever. It doesn't matter."
Mm-hmm.
So I danced with like a lot of the girls, and I preferred dancing with like the girls anyway because like they were I was taller anyway, A, but also B, I lead. I am lead. I have to have control because that's just my control freak in me.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of fun with dancing and learning the steps and stuff, but my problem was I kept basically hovering my partner over the floor and just like swinging them around. Almost, we were taking ballroom, not swing dance.
Yep.
But it was a lot of fun. But we worked it all out in the end, just like talking. And I'm like, oh man, it's a good thing none of my partners are claustrophobic because I held on really tight because like my love language is touch, and I'm a monster hugger. I'm like Scorpia. What's her quote about? I am brave, strong, and I give great hugs.
Yeah.
I'm brave, strong, loyal, and I give great hugs. I'm like, that's me, girl. And from there, I'm like, oh, but what if I did have a partner who had claustrophobia? And that's where basically the idea and the premise came from. And it's just two college students who have to learn from each other that, like, this character, Lovely, who is heavily, obviously, based on me. I'm JJ Quinn telling this. It's basically me. Who's like, yes, I love to dance. And, like, you get to learn her backstory, or she gets, like, she monologues about how, like, answering, like, a question she brought up to her dance partner, Sally, of, like, why I dance. And Sally's just uncomfortable with Lovely and just doesn't understand her or like her little things and quirks. But then there's like this other character, Jessie, who's non-binary, and they come in and just like dance, egotistical, bravado, and it's like, it's great that you two get to be in this dance competition, probably win some money and blah blah blah, and you get to ace out of PE, Sally, because you don't like PE, but I could have done it for my career. I don't think of Double Trouble. funny because I wrote this so long ago before I even watched Shira.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of put in Sally's mind that, well, something seems kind of off about Lovely, and basically Google diagnosed her that, like, oh, dude, she's autistic. She's weird. That's why that explains all this weird shit that's happening with her. And then by the time Jesse leaves and they go back to rehearsing, Sally just like blows up at Lovely, and it's just a whole ordeal, and it's just spilling guts, emotional moments, blah blah blah, emotion, crying. They just get a chance to talk, and how like Sally explaining about her claustrophobia and Lovely explaining about her autism, and they dance a light rumba and try to like work out a compromise. And that's a big message of like disability and compromise and communication about people, because like you don't know what another person is dealing with, and it's like on one hand it's none of your business unless it has to be your business. Is the thing.
Right.
So that play, they performed it in like back in August 2021. I want to say 2021, 2022. No, definitely was 2021. And the director, the man who runs like the playhouse, told me that like, hey, you and like 10 and like 9 other disabled like writers, or who writes about disabilities and stuff in plays, we want to offer you guys an opportunity of like getting published in like Next Stage Press, which is like big local or small New York play publishing place. I'm really bad at the wording of this, but I was like, oh my gosh, I could be published again. Because technically I was already published when I was 18, but that was like a small library thing, but it still counts, darn it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I can get one of my plays published, and I was so excited, and so like I had to like just change the format to match it. So all that is done and done. I'm getting a couple of the copies like sent to me soon enough, and I'm just so excited because it's like I held on to like these plays that I wrote like 3-4 years ago, and kind of lost my enthusiasm for like playwriting since then because I had so much rejection and other stuff came up, but kind of like lost my energy for it. So very similar, very much like what I was talking about in my failure video on Close Enough, is how like my dream and an aspect of like playwriting, it didn't necessarily die with just all those rejections and stuff. It was revived with the enthusiasm of like what I got out of making YouTube videos, because it's still scripting.
Yeah.
Because I'm still funny. I'm hilarious. But I'm also smart. And I can project that and just talk about what I want in any kind of script form. Because with script writing for plays is a very particular format. But like I can make my own format of how I write my own scripts. And everyone does that. It's really cool. I can go by my own beat at my own drum there. So to me, it's like, oh, this is so but I feel like a part of me is still also happy that like the young me of who aspired to be like a writer and write more is very happy and satisfied with that. I don't know moving forward if I want to write more plays or get back into writing in general, even though like I would like to write for animation.
Yeah.
But I think at this moment in my life, I'm just still trying to find my stability. I'm still just trying to figure it out, and right now YouTube is that great creative outlet for me, scripting wise, visual wise, and I still try to pick back up on my drawings every now and again.
That's really cool though. Like, did you get to see the play performed in any way? Like, did they have recordings or anything?
Unfortunately, because it was a part of a short play festival, they had my play performed in the other two, so they couldn't record it. But I got to sit in on Zoom rehearsals and got to meet the cast. And to a certain extent, it was like the casting was pretty much true to how I wrote the characters. It's weird calling the characters I wrote for the play OCs in a way, because it's like I have a vision in mind, and I intentionally wrote all my plays where it's like be casted as women and or non-binaries and people of color, because very much lacking those demographics in the play and the theatrical scene.
Right.
So I intentionally made it where it's like I'm open to casting, but so long as it's if you can't get a POC or this or that and the third, fine, but you better exhaust all you can. And even I was like even more happier to learn that like in the casting for like Lovely, since she's based on me, so woman of color, autistic woman of color, that the actor who played her was also a person of color who is autistic. So I'm like, this is the truest form casting I've ever wanted. It's beautiful.
I mean, based on my proximity to like theater and stuff, I would think it's not that hard to find like autistic people of color in theater, but I don't know.
Right?
Like, it definitely seems like there's plenty of diversity in theater. I mean, they might not get like the leading roles, but I think it's definitely one of those things where it's like, it's not even a thing of like, are those people there? It's just, are they getting the shots that they deserve? And part of that would be writing roles for them where they can actually get to show what they can do.
Yes, creating that opportunity and just letting them know that you can have this opportunity, whether you have to make it yourself or you find one made for, specifically tailored for you.
Yep.
And that's kind of like what I like with my channel is when I can, and especially I like to give the opportunity to have other people on and just share their perspective or just like a note from their POV of how this or that or the third is happening, and just like different perspective and giving opportunities. Trying to Hamilton that shit, trying to Nick Fury that shit, man.
Yeah. Well, it's about 11:30, so I think I'm gonna wrap it up on this interview and then just wrap up the show. Thank you so much for coming on. You've been a pleasure to have on.
Thank you so much for having me, even though I pretty much invited myself and barged my way in. But I loved it. I loved it so much, Tom.
The door was open.
Oh, yes. I would love to come back if you... And I'm happy. Just happy with it.
All right. Do you want to plug anything before you go?
Drink water. Eat food. I have a Ko-Fi. All my links to my socials are basically in my profiles of all my socials, like on my Twitter, on my YouTube. Subscribe to Tom.
Subscribe to Sugma Mail, everybody. Sugma Mail on YouTube, also Roundtable. And thank you so much for coming on. I'm gonna let you go.
Okay.
See ya.
Have a good night.
Thank you, you too. And that was ArteiceTB. Her @ is in the title, so you can go and find her. And also, we're going to move on to the final segment. We have the W of the week, and then we have to announce our, let me see, do I still have the W of the week up? And then we have to announce next week's guest. Yes, I do. Okay. So, our W of the week this week is for Steven Don Zeiger, I don't know how to pronounce his name, who got off of house arrest this week. And for those of you who do not know who this is a climate rights activist. I believe he's a lawyer, and he was unlawfully charged with criminal activity by oil companies to basically shush him up and keep him from his activism. So, also shout out to Hassan the Hun, for bringing attention to this case, and his community was very much a big it's the end of the show. A big factor in getting attention towards this. So honestly, big W for that. Also, congratulations, VG Marcus. I would have given him the W of the week, but this is just a larger scale thing, seeing an activist, a climate activist, actually, who was wrongfully charged with criminal stuff, gets his due. I'm very tired this week. I'm at the end. We're at the end of the show, y'all. We gotta announce next week's guest. Someone in this chat might know who it is. Next week's guest is none other than Cash will be joining us next week. They will be on the show. So make sure you come back next week, 10 p.m. And also, before you go, make sure you follow me on Twitter. And also, as Arteice said, subscribe to Sugma Mail on YouTube. I post videos in the whatchamacallit, in the break between seasons, season 2 and 3. The music's a little bit loud. In the season, in between the seasons, I'm going to post more videos, and also we have a bunch of highlights. If you don't want to sit through a whole VOD and you just want to see highlights of the show, this is the place to do it. Also, shout out to Huey for giving me an excuse to put Sup Caitlyn in the thumbnail. But as always, thank you so much for coming out. I appreciate all of you, and I'll see you next week, 10 p.m. Friday, and Cash will be on. See ya.